How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I got to tell you about my experience at Turning Point USA's Black Influencer Retreat out there in Phoenix, Arizona. This was a fantastic event. I'm going to tell you all about it, but I just got to say this was great. It was great to have us all in one place to discuss how we can push the Black community's best interests forward, and not just for the Black community, but for America in general, because I feel like all of us that were there are able to influence the country in a much broader sense than just for us. But before I even tell you all of what happened during the event, before the event, meaning at the airport, on the plane, off the plane, and after the event, airports, planes, or whatever, I need to tell you who all was there. Now, bear with me. There were quite a few people there, so I'll try to get everybody. If I miss one person, I'm sorry, but I have a list. Hopefully, I don't miss anybody. You had myself, obviously. You had Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Will Johnson, James T. Harris, Will Harris Jr., Megan Harris. They're not related. Kevin from Kevin's Corner, Dexter Taylor, Joel Patrick, the Hayes brothers, Hotep Jesus, the Amazing Lucas, Terrence Williams, Leo Dunson, and Jermain Botsio. That was the whole squad. There were quite a few people there. There were more people than that were actually invited, but this was kind of a short notice event, so not everybody was able to make it. Some guys had their kids. It was just kind of hard to, just take that time off in a short notice, but it was great. Now, before I talk about the meat of the actual event, let's talk about my experience on the actual plane going to the event. Now, this was great. I had on my MAGA hat the whole time in the airports, on the planes, or whatever. And everybody stopped me and said, "I like your hat. Nice hat." When I got off the first plane, I think it was when I came from Tennessee to Texas, the first, before I went from Dallas to Phoenix, the pilot was right there. You know how the pilot stands at the aisle at the end to say everybody thank you, have a nice trip or whatever. The pilot would say, "I like your hat." When I was in the airport, one of the stewardesses who was just walking in the airport with the luggage said, "I like your hat." People that were in the concession stands, people that were just sitting down, everybody, different races, different ages, a lot of people. The guy I was sitting next to appeared to be like Black or Hispanic. He said, "I like your hat," and he was in the military. It was like three people that were sitting right next to me that said, "I like your hat." I didn't notice any negativity. One thing I know about wearing my MAGA hat is that I may occasionally get a funny look, but I never get any kind of real negative comments sent my way. It's usually all positive. So that made me feel good. That gave me some confidence going into the actual event that this was going to be great. A lot more people feel the same way I feel. And one thing about it, Arizona is obviously a border state. When I got to Arizona, I felt like I was getting many more compliments than I was getting before. Not that it was, a problem before, but it was just like everywhere. Police officers, everybody was giving me the thumbs up. It was just a great experience just from wearing my hat and just being myself out in public. But let's fast forward to getting to Phoenix. Now, it's hot. I come from the East Coast, low elevation. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And high humidity. I'm not used to being up like 2,000 feet and having there be no humidity with the sun directly on top of your head. They don't observe daylight savings time because it's some parts of the year where it's light for a very long time. When we got up the next day, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but I'll go back. When I got up the next day at 5:45 a.m., well, actually before that, I think I got up at 5 o'clock their time. The sun was already beaming, which is crazy because if you're in the East, the sun doesn't usually rise fully until after 7. It was hot. That's the main thing you got to know about Phoenix. It was hot, but the resort was beautiful. I'll try to play some footage of the resort on the screen. It was kind of like, I don't want to say carved in, but built adjacent and on top of, like, kind of like built on the side of Camelback Mountain, which we'll talk about again a little bit later. So when you're going to your actual room, The mountain is right there. You can see it behind you. And also, like in the hallway, certain parts of the hallway, there's no complete wall. It's like it's outside still. And you're right there. You can see cacti, you can see lizards, you can see all type of stuff right outside your window. Oh, and the resort, the Phoenician that we stayed at was beautiful. I mean, you got ballrooms, you got actual little boutiques and stores inside. Very expensive stuff. Turning Point USA took care of everything. It was just a really nice place to be. I really enjoyed my time at the place. Really high luxury stuff. But aside from just the hotel really being nice, the event itself was great, and the people there were even better. Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, everybody that you see online, they're the same as they are in their videos. I didn't sense anybody was there in a fake way. Everybody was nice. We all got along. It was like an instant family. I told Brandon, it was like, you guys are all my new brothers and sisters, basically. It was great. Charlie Kirk, smart guy, tall guy. I'm 6'3", he's taller than me. Really smart guy. He gave us a speech, and you really kind of felt empowered after it. And you felt like this guy, if he's leading the ship, he knows what's going on. And like I said earlier, the point of us being there was to discuss ways we can help push the community forward. And I think I learned a lot. One of the main things I learned is just certain techniques people use to actually produce video. Will Johnson, he had a video that did, as far as last time I saw it, almost 300,000 views on Facebook. This is only within a couple of days of him putting it out. He did a live video, but the way he did it, he had this setup. It was crazy. He had this collapsible tripod with an iPhone on it and a wireless microphone. He was able to just put it wherever and conduct an interview live on Facebook. He had his own emojis. Like, you know how you have emoticons where you can push the laughing or the heart? He had like little Trump heads and Pepes and crosses. It was crazy. This guy's really on it. So I'll do a compilation video that has portions where I'm in their videos, you know, them meaning Will Johnson, Kevin's Corner, Mason Lucas, etc., Hotep Jesus, whoever was doing live streams or recorded a video. If I'm in it, I'll do a compilation with my parts, but I'll place the full videos in the description box, and I'll also place how you can follow each individual person that was there for yourself if you're not already doing so. But everybody was nice. Everybody took pictures. We went first to a lunch, which was actually at the resort. That was great. That's where that famous picture is of everybody at that long table. That was the first place we went to, right after we pretty much got off the plane and got checked in. After that, we went to, where did we go? We went to a meeting after that, and we talked about a lot of different things at the meeting. After the meeting, we had a little bit of free time. We were able to go back to the room, take a shower, walk around the resort. I'm, at this point, very tired. I've only slept like 3 hours up until that point, because you have to understand, I came from Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is not that close to Phoenix, Arizona. So in order for me to get there before 12 noon Pacific time on the same day was to get a plane that left at 5:45 in the morning East Coast time. So I went to sleep like 12 midnight and got up at about, I want to say 4 o'clock. I could have gone to bed earlier, but I didn't want to confuse my body by going to bed so early when I know I have to be up in Phoenix pretty late. Because if we have dinner at 9 o'clock, which we did, I'll talk about that momentarily, then I can't be trying to, you know, basically I'm trying to train my body so it's not trying to go to sleep very early. I'm not going to be totally exhausted when 9 o'clock Pacific time comes, but I digress. We get to the dinner about 7:30 that night. It was great. A lot of good food. It was this place, I forget what it's called, but it was in the second floor of a different place. And this was in Old Town Scottsdale. A lot of good food. We had venison. We had just a little bit of everything. Chickpeas and fried little balls looked like hush puppies. It was great. At this point, this is when Charlie Kirk comes in. His flight got to Phoenix at 8:45. So he was really just ripping and running trying to get there. Him and Candace Owens and also Brandon Tatum are very busy. I'm sure we're all busy, but those three individuals who are like the big dogs, in my humble opinion, over at Turning Point, they're extremely busy just doing various things, whether it be media appearances, trying to get things organized, or whatever the case may be. They're very busy. I'm just happy that they were able to throw this. And Charlie coming was a pleasant experience. He was a very nice person, down to earth. And the things he said were things that I know to be true. Some people want to say that Turning Point, they're charlatans, Candace Owens is fake, but I'm sitting there talking to the people, looking them dead in the face, and all I sensed was a pure, genuine nature and soul. I didn't sense any kind of fraudulent stuff. And I'm not just saying that because they asked me to. All I was asked is make a video about your experience, and here it is. I was going to do this anyway because I know you guys want to hear about it. I posted a picture. People were like, where's the live stream? How can we come visit? Oh, and by the way, shout out to Jermain Botsio. He did a live stream on Facebook, which I was featured on. And as a result of that live stream, which got like 25,000 views in like the first hour or something, it was crazy. But as a result of that live stream, a couple, they came to the actual resort and they were just wanting to thank everybody for what they're doing. We're just sitting there, me and Joel, getting ready to go to the second story restaurant. And they approached us and said, hey, did I see you on the stream? Are you with Turning Point USA? They shook my hand and said, thank you. The lady said I was funny because I spelled out my whole name in the website. It was really just a nice experience. We were sitting there for a while waiting on the Uber to go to the restaurant because the other guys had already gone. We just kind of missed it. We were a little bit late. And they came up to us again before the Uber came and said, hey, do you guys need a ride? I mean, they were just so nice. Everybody was nice, not just people that we were able to meet, but also everybody that was there attending the actual event. Now, I know I'm getting kind of long-winded, but I need to just tell you more about what happened. So the second day after, some of the guys, they went out after the actual dinner in the restaurant. But by this time, it's late. In East Coast time, I've only gotten like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and I've been riding in planes for like 6-7 hours. So I was like, I want to go back to the actual room, get some sleep, and see you guys in the morning. Because on our itinerary, there was a hike of Camelback Mountain. Now, I don't know anything about the West Coast or the western part of the U.S. The furthest west I've been is El Paso, Texas. And when I was in El Paso, there wasn't any kind of hiking going on. But in Phoenix, it's much different. The heat is real. I saw a homeless guy on the side of the road that says, hot and hungry, please help. And I don't think he's lying. It was very hot, even though it wasn't as hot as it could be. Now, we get to this mountain at about 6 a.m. Most of the squad is not there. I'd say probably about half of us are there. You have Charlie, his assistant. I don't know her name. I'm sorry, but she was cool. Shout out to you. You know you are. You had the Hayes brothers, myself, Brandon Tatum, and Joe Patrick. I think I mentioned Charlie Kirk and his assistant. But anyway, that was all who was there. The other guys, some of them were just tired because they went out. I don't know, but we were the only ones that were there. So I'm thinking it's going to be a breeze. It doesn't look to be too high. It's only 1.8 miles. I mean, how far is that? I can walk 1.8 miles blindfolded and not break a sweat. But the heat is so deceptive in Arizona, you don't really understand how the sun is affecting you because there's no humidity, so you're not really sweating. And I get thirsty. I get dehydrated very fast. So I drink a lot of water just being over here where it's humid. So in Arizona with the elevation, I just wasn't ready. So I made it up about halfway. I probably could have gone a little bit further after I rested, but I just was kind of not wanting to take that risk. Number one, when you are hiking up, it's like your heart is like beating out of your chest. At least it was for me. And I think the reason for that is because I wasn't prepared. Maybe my cardio wasn't really on point, but beyond that, I didn't eat before. And Brandon said you probably should eat before you make the trek up because your legs start to get heavy. You just won't really feel good. And I didn't have enough water. It was a tour guide who was in the lobby of the restaurant who was saying, you guys are going to die. You don't have enough water. You don't want to hold anything in your hands, this, that, and the third. I wasn't there to hear that. If I heard that, I probably wouldn't have gone. I was able to find that out later. All I had in my hands was one bottle of water. That wasn't going to cut it. Luckily, Brandon had some more water. I killed all that. All that water was gone. I needed like a whole big, I needed to do a little bit more cardio to train, to have like a gallon at least in my bag, and also to have eaten breakfast before I went on the hike. I was like, okay, we're going to eat breakfast afterwards. I don't need to eat before, which was a bad thing, but I was able to get a little bit of a view. I placed that on the screen before you. So that was very interesting. Charlie and Joel ran up the actual mountain, and I think they went all the way to the peak, which was crazy because they only had was like one bottle of water each, but they made it down and they were perfectly fine. But these guys are fit. Charlie likes to run. I think he wants to do like marathons and stuff. So these guys are like super physically fit. I need to get like them, but I digress. Fast forward to the breakfast afterwards. You know, after I get out the shower or whatever, go downstairs to this area where you have the breakfast. This was a lot of fun. A lot of live streams. A picture was taken here. I think Hotep Jesus live stream from here. And the picture I have on my Facebook, which is the header, that comes from that breakfast, which was right after the hike. Now, there was a situation where a lady came down there. I don't want to say too much about her, but she seemed to be in distress. We were able to comfort her. So that was a very good part of the actual event. And I think that's a big reason why we're all there coming together, is just to try and spread love and positivity and not any kind of hatred. So I was glad we were able to do that. So after the breakfast, we went back down to the meeting place. Well, not down, up to the meeting place. That's where Charlie gave his speech. That was great. Candace spoke a little bit. Well, she spoke that particular time and also before about a few things. Hearing them speak really just kind of reassured me that Turning Point USA, they're on the right path. They have a strong team behind them, a lot of smart people, talented people, and I'm just happy to have been in their presence. And we're going to do a lot more together. This is not the end. This is just the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Like I said before, I met a bunch of new brothers and sisters that day. I'll never forget it. And shout out to Turning Point USA, Brandon, Candace, Charlie, and the whole squad for bringing this out. Like I said, this is not the end, only the beginning. But to fast forward to the departure, we get an Uber. We're in the Uber talking to the lady. She's super cool, super nice. She came from California. In the Uber, it was a Dodge Durango, a truck pickup. So it was myself, Jermain Botsio, and the Hayes brothers inside with the driver. So great conversation, great way to end it. The Phoenix airport is pretty massive. I was able to get dropped off first, and then they had to go to Delta. I was an American. They went to Delta, and after I get dropped off, they have to drive to the next destination. But overall, the Lyft drivers were cool. It wasn't Uber, it was Lyft. They were cool. It was just a great experience overall. Phoenix, hot but beautiful. You saw some of the views. I had never seen cacti before in my life in person, and it was just an interesting thing to see. I was more interested in the geography and topography of the area rather than the buildings and whatnot. But beyond that was the people who I was the most interested in, and like I said, fantastic people. On the planes, on the way back, I'm getting more. I like your hat compliments. A lady that was on the plane, a stewardess said, I like your hat, and said she had a hat on and one of her children made her turn the hat around. So the restaurant they were in did not spit in her food. Sound familiar to you? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I digress. Overall, all positive, great experiences. No flight delays, really. I will say one thing, the Charlotte airport, you got to tighten up. That thing looks like, I don't know what happened. Was it like some type of hurricane that hit it? It just looks bad. You got unfinished floors, all type of stuff wrong with the airport. Now, I've been to the airport before. I think I was in the airport at the end of April going to DC, and I was like, okay, this is kind of raggedy here. I understand they're trying to expand it. They're trying to get more gates and whatnot. I understand, but the same floor that was unfinished in the main hallway was still unfinished. Cardboard and stuff, I'm like, this is really raggedy. And then you have to kind of like jog and run to get to these gates, and the gates are confusing. It was a mess. But the pilots were nice. Everybody was cool, smooth plane rides. I was get back home to Chattanooga safe and sound. So that is pretty much it from my experience. I will place a video probably in the card and also in the box of the actual interviews I did. Pictures and whatnot will be on my social media, and links to everybody's individual page that was there. That will also be in the description box if you want to go follow everybody that you're not following already, or if you want to share it with people who are interested in what's happening. I gotta say one more thing before we close, just one last thing, because I know this may be the elephant in the room. I don't want to talk about Candace controversy, because the controversy behind her is a nothing burger. It's a big brouhaha about nothing, something that everybody should pretty much move on, because the controversy behind her is something that was made up really from YouTubers, and it has no real consequence in reality, in my humble opinion. But the bigger elephant in the room is, how can you be against identity politics and have a black conservative retreat? Well, the whole point of us being there was to figure out ways that we can effectively communicate to people that others cannot. We were talking about different things, different kind of ideologies. Charlie was giving the speech, and then I interrupted, and I was like, so we're talking about socialism, and we were talking about how these groups are always there and they don't really succeed, and then we're naming different socialist groups, and I said National Socialists in Germany. He was like, well, I don't really use a Nazi thing because it's kind of like played out for me, but for you, you can use it, which is the whole point. If Charlie talks about how socialism is bad and he refers to the Nazis, it looks kind of cliche when it comes from him, a white guy. But when it comes from me, how are you really going to actually defend that? How are you going to actually defeat that? You can't just say, oh, you're a white guy, you're alt-right or whatever, which Charlie is absolutely not. Very cool guy. That's my brother, so there's no alt-right stuff going on there. But you can't use that same argument against me and have it make any sense. People try to call blacks white supremacists. I think Will Johnson got called a white supremacist by Nancy Pelosi or somebody. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Will Johnson is black. How are you going to call a black person a white supremacist? And if you're a white person doing that, doesn't that make you racist by calling somebody who is black white? What's going on? But I digress. The whole point is that there are some things that whites can't really get away with saying, or they can't say it effectively, because people will automatically discard them because of their skin color, because of the identity that they impose on them. And the same thing with the black community can be said, but to a much higher degree. When a white guy like Charlie comes into the black community and gives out ways that the black community can improve itself, it doesn't really go over as well as if it were coming from me or Kevin's Corner or Candace Owens or Will Johnson or Jermain Botsio or anybody else that happens to be black. I mean, it may not be fair, it may be hypocritical, it may be whatever you want to say, but it doesn't even matter. The point is that it is what it is. And I think we are in a unique position that we can't really be touched with what they do against your average white person who is a conservative or center right leaning. They call a guy like Jordan B. Peterson alt-right, white supremacist, neo-Nazi. How can you say that when he is a psychology professor? It doesn't even make any sense at all. He talks more about social issues, more about family and stuff like that, how to improve the person from the inside, not what party you affiliate yourself with or whatever. Common sense things that should be taught to all people, especially men. So that's why he attracts a large male audience. The media will say it's because you're attracting these hateful white men, these white supremacists or whatever. That's not the case. I went to Jordan Peterson event and I felt very comfortable. I did not feel uncomfortable. I would have felt more uncomfortable at a Hillary Clinton rally. She claims to be so inclusive, having hot sauce in the bag, this, that, and the third, but I would not feel safe there. I would feel threatened if I had on my MAGA hat, just being myself. I would not feel very welcomed. If I went to a Jordan B. Peterson event with the rainbow American flag, nobody really say anything. It wouldn't really be this big ruckus trying to get me out. But flip it the other way around. If I go to some kind of liberal person speak like King, if I went to his event with this on, it might be a different story. Now, I'm not necessarily a small guy, so maybe not. I may just get nasty looks, but then again, you can't discount these Antifa guys, because what if it's just you by yourself and 100 of them? They may feel emboldened that way, but I digress. My point is that the identity politics attack on Turning Point USA to have us come to Phoenix is really unfounded, because we're not Black Lives Matter, La Raza. We're trying to fight against that. We're trying to fight against putting all blacks in one box. If you want to be liberal, that's fine. Conservative, that's fine. If you want to be atheist or whatever, that's fine. And an example of this as I close was I was talking to Hotep Jesus about expanding Earth theory. We're talking about all types of things. We were a very diverse group there, just having a conversation. So we embrace diversity of thought, diversity of whatever it is. We're not this hateful, radical group that's trying to use identity as a weapon, that's trying to use it to keep people trapped into one state of being. So that's pretty much all I got. I know it was a mouthful, but I really had a good time there. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Share the video, like the video, do all the good stuff. Also, subscribe to me if you're not subscribed already. Hit up my PayPal, Patreon, do all that good stuff. And until next time, y'all be safe. I'm out, and peace.